Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend, a safe Halloween. The jack-o'-lanterns and costumes are put away. For some, that means a Christmas tree or two is already out in your house. But for others, like me, that means I'm busting out my copy of Hoosiers and lacing up my high-top Converse and getting ready for one of the greatest seasons of all time. That's college basketball season. A lot of people look forward to holidays. They look forward to different times of the year. But for me, this is probably one of the best times of the year. College basketball back in full swing, especially here in Utah, in Orem to be exact. Lots of different changes happening in the offseason with Utah Valley Athletics. It's been 7 months since we graced your airwaves here on ESPN 960 with the UVU Coaches Show. For those who are returning, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. And for anybody new, hello and welcome. I'm your host, Brandon Crow, and I'm grateful to be back with you here today and every Monday throughout the college basketball season going forward. The course of the show, it's going to be great. We've got a lot of new things we're going to try out this season, and it's going to be a fun time. And glad to have you with us along the way. Throughout the course of the show and the season, we'll dive into all things UVU basketball, as well as other sports and stories underneath the Utah Valley umbrella. And we've got a lot to dissect and unpack for you as we get you caught up to speed with all the changes and exactly what's happened over the offseason here in Orem, starting with changes within the administration. Dr. Jared Sumption taking over the reins as new athletic director after Vince Odopal resigns. And we'll hear from UVU's Dr. J, Jared Sumption, later on in the show, along with two other giant puzzle pieces that were put into place in the spring, and new women's head coach Dan Nielsen and new men's basketball coach Mark Madsen. We'll hear from them along with UVU and Whack Hoops Digest insider Kyle Mcdonald, as well as UVU men's cross-country standout Kevin Lynch, who, over the weekend, claimed his second straight individual title and helped lead the Wolverines to their fifth title in the last 7 years. It's a busy show, but it's going to be a good one. Last April, it was announced through a Woj bomb. Yep, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski was the one that broke the official news that the Lakers' assistant coach Mark Madsen, two-time NBA champion Mark Madsen, would take over for Mark Pope after Coach Pope announced he was taking the head coaching position at BYU. And Pope took with him his assistants Chris Burgess and Cody Feger, along with reigning WAC Player of the Year Jake Toulson, Richard Harward and Wyatt Lowell, and a handful of other players ended up leaving the program as well. So Madsen quickly got to work filling out his staff, and he's done quite a fantastic job, to be honest, in bringing in some of the top coaches that he could find and some of the top coaches in the area, really, and setting up his staff and setting up his team exactly where he wants them to be going forward as we start this new era and this new time here at Utah Valley University. Of course, one of the first assistants, one of the first phone calls that he made was to Todd Phillips, the longtime head coach and legendary head coach at Salt Lake Community College, who has had tremendous success over the years at that program. And we have seen several of those players come through his program and filter into BYU, filter here at Utah Valley University. Of course, Connor Toulson being one of those in recent times. Coach Phillips spent a lot of time with Connor Toulson. And Coach Phillips brings fantastic credibility, fantastic knowledge of this area when it comes to recruiting. And coming into the college game from the NBA game, a lot of people have questions about Coach Madsen and what he's going to be able to do. And that's okay. That's an honest thing, is to have honest questions. It's a completely different beast coming from the NBA to the NCAA. And we all know that Coach Madsen has had success in NCAA times when he played at Stanford, making deep runs into the NCAA tournament. But it's a different beast, and it's been quite a while since Coach Madsen's been there. So he's got to get caught up to speed on the different rules and regulations, and having his assistants who are familiar with that and who have been in the NCAA system over the past several years is definitely something that gives him comfort and sets him up for continued success in that realm. And I know that Coach Madsen, as soon as he got into Orem, was hitting the ground running. And I honestly don't think his motor has stopped since. Every time you try and meet up with a guy or go through into the basketball facility, you see that he is just constantly grinding, and you know that he's setting up his team for success in this future. So Todd Phillips being one of the assistants that he brought in, as well as the other Todd, you call him the brothers Todd or the coaches Todd Okeson from University of Nevada. So overall, as far as the team goes, Utah Valley returns only 2 starters and letter winners from last year's squad that finished with a school record 25 wins and a 3rd straight CBI appearance. Those 2 returners, Isaiah White and TJ Washington, and those 2 combined for 21% of the Wolverines' scoring from last year. Now, they introduced 11 new teammates to the world, to everybody here in Orem and those in the Western Athletic Conference. Now, these are names to familiarize yourself with. Brandon Averett, transfer from Oklahoma State. Kazdan Jardine from Boise State. Ege Havza, who sat out, all 3 of those guys sat out last year due to transfer rules. And they, along with 5 new transfers in J.J. Overton, E-Man, as he likes to be called, Emmanuel Olajakpoke, Brandon Morley, Jacob Heese, and Trey Woodbury, joined Travis Wagstaff and Lewis Johnson, who are the team's true freshmen. So altogether, 11 new teammates to add into Isaiah White and TJ Washington on this team. Another shout out I want to give to Bradley Kitchen, who was promoted as team manager. He was previously with under Coach Pope's staff as a team manager, but is suiting up and will play in his final year of eligibility. I personally know Bradley, his brother Scott, and the family, and I know how thrilled and excited they are for him to get this opportunity, and it'll be a fantastic thing to see him out there. And Coach Madsen takes a lot of pride in the people around him. He takes a lot of pride and makes sure that nobody goes unnoticed, and that's a very cool thing to observe. We all know it's Coach Madsen's first time as a head coach. There are a lot of questions, like we said, a lot of honest questions about this program and what he will do with the squad that he has. We know there's going to be some growing pains, but we also know that there's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of positivity surrounding this camp and surrounding this university, and really going forward, the different hopes and dreams that administration and that this team and the coaching staff, both for the men's and the women's programs, have. And it's a changing of the guard. And it's going to be a very fun transition and a very fun time to see these beginning steps laying the groundwork and the foundation for what's to come. Already building on the groundwork and the foundation that has been tremendously put forth by those who have come beforehand. So it's okay if you have honest questions. We all do. But some of those questions may have been put to rest on Friday in a little bit of an exhibition, but Utah Valley defeated the College of Idaho 59-42. We saw what Trey Woodbury can do. He had game-high 18 points. Isaiah White had 14 point, 13 rebound, double-double to lead Utah Valley. Not everybody played in that game, just kind of testing the waters, kicking the tires, so to speak. So Utah Valley will officially open up the season at home on Tuesday, so tomorrow against Westminster. And you can listen to the legendary Jimmy McCullough. It will be on the airwaves right here on ESPN 960 to deliver that game to you. I will be on the call if you want to watch the game on TV on the WAC Digital Network and on the KSL TV app as well. 7 p.m. is the tip-off Mountain Standard Time. So again, lots of positivity surrounding this camp, but I don't think there's anybody who's more ready for this moment than Coach Madsen himself. I mean, everything in his career thus far has led him to this. And here's what he had to say in his introductory press conference back in April, really about what led him here.
It's an honor to be named as the head coach of UVU. This program has a rich history in basketball. It started with Dick Hunsaker. Dick Hunsaker helped bring this program from the JC level to the D1 level. That has never been done before, and it will never be done again. I'm going to do my very, very best. And so the legacy here at UVU is a legacy of greatness, it's a legacy of growth, and it's a legacy that is going to continue. I've been mentored by some great coaches, some great players, and I consider them friends. I will draw on my previous experience as a player, as a coach, to bring it to this program and to these players. I could not be more excited to be here today. The goal here for Utah Valley University is to make the NCAA tournament and to have a deep run.
So you heard it from the man first. So we know he has tremendous pedigree of experience and wealth of knowledge. And he's learned from some of the best to ever play the game, some of the best to ever coach the game, and be around the game. And these are legends that when you go down through the history books of the game of basketball, you can't write those books without chapters of the teams and the people that he associated himself with. And so you have to think that he has learned a thing or two, and you know how smart of a man he is. And so I don't think that he will have any problem finding success here at Utah Valley University. But everything starts tomorrow night, tip-off, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Again, you can listen to Jimmy Mack with the call on ESPN 960, tip-off on the WAC Digital Network and the KSL TV app. We're just getting started here on the UVU Coaches Show. We've got UVU Cross Country's Kevin Lynch coming up, WAC Hoop Digest, Kyle McDonald coming up, UVU Women's Basketball Head Coach Dan Nielsen. But up next, Dr. Jared Sumption. This is the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association on ESPN 960. We'll be right back with Dr. Jared Sumption right after this. All right, welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association. It has been a tremendously busy offseason for Utah Valley Athletics, but especially for one man in particular, Dr. Jared Sumption. Dr. Jared Sumption is now the athletic director. Dr. Sumption, how are you doing?
I'm good, Brandon. It's great to be here with you. It really has been a busy time, my first 6 months on the job, but things are going great. We just won a WAC championship on Saturday with men's cross country and Kevin Lynch winning the overall individual title, and lots more positive things to come.
Cross country is a different beast altogether. What are the sports that you played when you were a kid?
You know what? I played a lot of Tecmo Bowl,
okay,
and double dribble, and a lot of Little League World Series baseball on Nintendo. I've never been known for my athletic prowess, mostly my administrator prowess. So in high school, I played football at Springville High School and played tennis. I got cut from everything else, and so I think I realized quickly that I belonged being an administrator and off the fields and courts.
From what I hear, administration runs in the family?
Something like that. My dad, Keith Sumption, was a high school geography teacher for over 30 years at Timpview High School. He was always trying to get me to transfer from Springville High to Timpview, and I just couldn't do it. No offense to anybody from Timpview, but go Red Devils.
So walk us through the day in the life of you. What is the day in the life like as the athletic director of Utah Valley?
You know what, Brandon? It's pretty wild, actually. We it starts early in the morning. There's some days where you'll have text messages at 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. And really it just goes all day. I feel like a firefighter sometimes, just putting out fires. Thankfully, I have an awesome staff that really keeps things in line, and we just have some really great people who work extremely hard. I mean, people don't realize the NCAA Division I athletic world, how many hours employees put in on behalf of the student athletes in the university. So, my main focus is on the student athletes, but daily, worrying about fundraising, finances, everything from how's the team traveling, are we doing enough for our student athletes, just trying to make their experience better and obviously win championships, to win in the classroom, which is our number one priority, and then to help our student athletes win in the community. And ultimately, we want them to leave here and to win at life. And so that's really what we focus on.
Now, you were under the administration with Vince Odopol, and you have expressed your love for this university over the years. What is it about this university that has your heart?
You know, I'm an alumnus from Utah Valley University and former student body president, so I love this place. I'm tremendously lucky to be fulfilling my dream of being an athletic director here, and you know, I'm fairly young in the industry, and you know, I feel privileged to be mentored by Mike Jacobson and Vince Odopol, and to have, you know, those two great men teach me some things that hopefully, you know, I can take into my career and my future. But so excited to be a representative of Utah Valley University. Everything that we do is just top notch, and you know, most athletic directors don't have the privilege of working as an AD for their university, and I just feel so lucky to be able to do it. Every day is a new day, and I'm excited to go to work, and that's how I know I've chosen the right profession. And I love working with our university administration. President Astrid Tuminez is just a fireball. She's at all the games. Just earlier on Saturday, I saw her at the volleyball game with pom-poms and just cheering as loud as anybody. Then she's at the soccer game Saturday night, and Val Peterson is so great to work with. He actually used to do the scorers table for basketball back when we were at junior college. So it's really kind of cool to have all that support, and you know, we just have so many good things going on. We're building something really special here, and really dynamic and unique. I mean, UVU is the largest university in the state, and you know, I always tell people if UVU is a stock, I'd be buying. And I feel that same way about our athletic department and our wonderful student athletes and employees.
Speaking of your athletic department and buying stock in the university, there was another gentleman by the name of Mark Madsen who bought a lot of stock into this university. What was it like being in your shoes, in your position? Because you weren't the athletic director at the time, but what was it like being in the interview process and helping find Mad Dog a home here at Utah Valley?
You know, that was a wild time. I was the interim athletic director, applying for the job, had been interviewing for the job during all of this madness, and it wasn't just Coach Madsen, but it was Coach Nielsen too. We were looking for a men's and women's basketball coaches, and you know, Coach Madsen really was. It was, to be candid with you, it was the first phone call I made when I officially found out that our coach was heading to BYU, and so I called the Mad Dog. We had a good conversation. It was actually really quick, because he just said, "Jared, I am extremely interested in the job. Would you just do one favor for me?" And I'm like, "What's that?" "Would you please just talk to the Lakers management for me?" So he gave me he gave me a phone number that I won't disclose here, but it was one of the somebody that everybody would know from the LA Lakers, and I called that individual and asked permission to work with Coach Madsen, and they granted their blessing, and called him right back and just said, "Okay, let's get you on a flight." And he was on a flight that day. We interviewed him the next day, among other great candidates for the job, and ultimately, you know, amongst the group of us that selected Coach Madsen, we had him here within 4 days and starting, because it was a crazy 4 days, and it was so hard for our student athletes. People don't realize when you have a coach and that coach is no longer there, it's almost like losing a family member. And then the uncertainty of you know, just, hey, what's going on with my future, and then things with the transfer portal. It's just a different type of thing now. And honestly, the second Coach Madsen stepped on this campus, you know, we knew we had a gem, and I think he's proven that already. And honestly, you'll just never find a man with more integrity. He's unlike anybody in the entire industry, and I can unequivocally say that. He has the most integrity you'll ever see with any college coach. In fact, one of the representatives from the Lakers flat out told me that he is a special individual, and I happen to know that he had 3 other job offers at the time in the NBA, and there was also another university looking at him And so we're lucky to have him here, and he's already doing great things for us.
Well, Dr. Sumption, DJ, Dr. J, as people affectionately call you around here, you're a very busy man. We know you have a lot on your plate. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. I want to let you go. I want to ask you one last question here. So far, the best advice you've received?
Oof, that is that is a great question. Some of the advice I can't share here on the radio, but I have a lot of mentors across the country and a lot of friends that are ADs, and one of the biggest things they tell me is just try to get out in front of something before it gets out in front of you. And then one of my best friends in the industry, who's an AD, he actually told me, he just said, manage your schedule, don't let your schedule manage you. And so I'm currently keeping my own schedule and trying to manage that, and being at all the games, but also trying to be a husband and a father, and focus on my duties there, which are the most important to me. But that's probably the best advice I've received at this point.
Fantastic. Well, thank you as always, Jared, for your time, and next time Joe Bandito's on me.
Here we go. Joe Bandito, Springville, Utah. Let's go.
All right, this is the UVU Coaches Show. We'll be right back with more after this right here on ESPN 960. All right, welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Brandon Crow with you here on ESPN 960. And it was a fantastic weekend overall for Utah Valley Athletics, specifically for the cross-country team. Again, the dynasty continues. The men's team wins their 5th WAC Sports title in the last 7 years, and one particular Wolverine, Kevin Lynch, repeats for the individual title for a second year in a row. And Kevin is kind enough to join us on the show. Kevin, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
So, Kev, for those that aren't too familiar with cross country or with what exactly it is that you do, what exactly is that you do for Utah Valley?
Yeah, so I'm a cross-country runner. Cross-country is done usually at like a park, golf course. The men run an 8K distance, which is like about 5 miles long. The way cross-country works is the lowest points, the team that scores the lowest amount of points wins. The way you earn points is person who takes first gets 1 point, the person who takes second gets 2 points, and so on. You have 5 members of your team that score. So ideally you want your top 5 people or individuals to be higher up to get the lower score.
Now, how long have you been running?
So I started running when I was a freshman in high school. So quite a while, I guess.
So, for me personally, it's hard for me just to get up and run unless there's like a ball involved. What was it, or who was it that really triggered this for you to think that, this is something I can really do and really excel at?
Yeah, most of my life I grew up playing soccer as well, so I was kind of always chasing the ball. But kind of as I got injured playing soccer, my older brother he was kind of running on the high school team, and he wanted to be my teammate. He said, in his words, it was just one last year be my teammate, and I said, it'll get me in good shape for soccer is what I figured. So I joined the cross-country team and shortly found out that I was a little bit better at running than I was soccer, so I continued the running portion of that.
So how do you train for cross country?
Yeah, it's one of those. Running isn't as hard as people think. You're really just the more time you dedicate to it, the better you are. So really, me and my team run 6 days a week. Some people run 7, but most will just run 6 days and have Sundays a rest day. I average about 16 miles a day, whether that's done all at once or sometimes it's done in 2 runs, sometimes it's done in 3 runs. Really, it kind of depends what our coaches want. not every single day is just kind of like an all-out hard run. A lot of times it's more of kind of like an easy, we call it a conversational pace. So a pace you can run and have a conversation at. But then other days we do kind of some more specific training where we do interval work to kind of help our speed and help our endurance.
So one thing that fascinates me about people that do what you do, or other athletes that are at the top of their game, is the mental aspect. And obviously, when you're running cross country in those distances, it is very physically demanding. But I'm sure you could probably debate with a lot of people that it's very mentally demanding. How do you train your mind to do what you do?
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of people don't know you can't have any when you're competing, you can't have any sort of like electronic device like an iPod or anything like that. So during our races, it's really just you and really you and the crowd, basically. And so training your mind, I mean, honestly, is just as important as kind of training physically, as you said. And it's really kind of just done the same thing as physically, just done every day by kind of repeating like mantras in your head, or I mean, it helps that you're out there running every day, so you know what it's like. You know, you run the paces in practice or what you want to race at, so you're used to the kind of the pain and the hurt. But I think it's a large part is a lot of visualization and a lot of just kind of believing in yourself that you can kind of do it. And honestly, I'm kind of blessed that I kind of like to go out and run. So I know I'm kind of in the minority in that one. So.
Okay, now help us settle a great debate out there. This might have been a fad for a few years now. You see a lot of people running without shoes, with shoes. If you had your way and you could compete, would you still wear your shoes, or are you the type of guy that runs without shoes?
I would definitely wear shoes. Yeah, that's. I actually worked at a running store, and the guy who owned the store was like, "Yeah, I love this fad that's going on because it helps me with my business, but it's not very good for you to run without shoes."
That's what I thought. So I just wanted to settle that debate, hearing it from you, an accomplished runner yourself. So what's next, Kevin? What's next for you and for the Wolverines?
Yeah, so not this weekend, but coming up second week in November, we have the Mountain Regional race. I guess you could kind of say it's the first round of NCAA championships. To qualify for the second round, you as a team have to do so well, or as an individual, you have to do so well. We have actually probably either the most or the second most competitive region in the NCAA. There's usually about, I think there's 15 teams in our region, and usually 5 of them are ranked in the top 10 in the nation. So it's really competitive. It's basically like almost like a prequel to the championship that comes the week prior. So that's what we are looking forward to and training for most, is to try and hopefully get our team there, and if not the team, at least an individual.
Gotcha. Now then, once cross country is finished, do you have any other duties with track and field as well?
Yeah, so maybe a blessing and a curse. I'm kind of like a year-long athlete. Don't get much of a break ever. It's go from cross country, and cross country ends, and a week later, indoor track starts, and then indoor track goes right into outdoor track. So it's fun, but sometimes can get a little exhausting.
So, in other words, you have no problem staying in shape.
Yeah, I can. I eat a lot of junk year round.
Okay, that leads me to my next question. So, how do you train by eating? Like, how do you train for that nutritionally?
It's funny. It kind of depends on you as a person. I try to eat relatively healthy. I joke around that I eat kind of bad, but for the most part, I do try and put the best nutrition into me so I can perform the best. Just kind of like, there's a saying, it's like it's Ferrari fuel, where you just don't put regular gasoline inside a Ferrari. And so that's kind of the thinking behind it as well, is you want to put good things in your body so you can perform. But I really, with the amount that I run and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter too much about what I'm getting, as long as I'm trying a little bit to be healthy and not eating out every day or stuff like that. As long as I'm making an effort to be a little bit healthy, it's fine.
Gotcha. All right, well, congratulations on the monumental weekend that you had, Kevin, and your continued success, and wish you nothing but the best for you and the Wolverines going forward.
Thank you.
All right, that was Kevin Lynch from the UVU Cross Country Track and Field team. We'll be right back with more right here on the UVU Coaches Show on ESPN 960. All right, welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Brandon Crow with you here on ESPN 960. And we are pleased to be joined by Kyle Mcdonald. He is our next guest. He is somebody that the UVU fan base, and growing day by day, the Western Athletic Conference fan base is beginning to know and to rely upon for a lot of their sports updates. And he recently released WACHoopsDigest.com, so you can email Kyle sportsbias at WACHoopsDigest.com. Follow him on Twitter at Kyle Sportsbias, all one word there, and at WACHoopsDigest for all your latest and greatest stats and bits of information for WAC Hoops. Kyle, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Brandon. I appreciate having you on the show, and it's it's a good week. It's a good week to start off this show and be on the show for the first time this year. As obviously the basketball season gets underway this week, and looking forward to some fun things going around the Western Athletic Conference, and especially UVU. I think there's some storylines that'll be there this year, and looking forward to bringing that to the fans and what's going to excite them as the season goes forward. So it'll be good.
Excellent. So where did your idea come from for wanting to do your own thing with the WAC Hoops Digest?
So last year, the 2018-19 season, I did a power rankings article. I think it was early on. It was right before WAC play started in January on the OneTeamAllGreen.com website that I was running. And when I tweeted it out, the link for the power rankings, I got a ton of traffic from fans of other schools, whether it's New Mexico State, Grand Canyon, California Baptist fans even got in on it. And so I started writing more articles on One Team All Green during the basketball season, pointed at like an unbiased opinion on the schools and the WAC and what was going on with each school and their team and so forth. And I decided that, so it didn't look like I was too biased towards Utah Valley, to actually start the WAC Hoops Digest, where it's unbiased reporting about all the schools, all the teams, what's going on. And it was encouraged by a lot of fans from other schools. I've seen some fans on a New Mexico State fan board that they have going on that have said they really appreciate starting it. At WAC Media Day, Jim Hayford of Seattle came up to me and said, thanks for starting the website. Rick Roy has tweeted out he appreciates all that we do. I mean, it was just deciding to break out and to reach out to a bigger target audience, because I think the Western Athletic Conference men's basketball, there's a ton of storylines, and it just continues to get better each and every year. And, it was more of a trying to get more people to see the work that's done, the storylines, and this is a way to do that, because there's no specific website dedicated to WAC hoops. Even though Mid-Major Madness will write an article here and there, or a weekly article with Greg Mitchell. And so it's just more content, more stuff around the league, and it's been a great start, and it's only going to get better. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I've loved seeing what you've been putting out there so far. Are you the only person right now running it, or do you have somebody else helping you out?
So I'm the only person right now that's on it. I've tried to put it up as an internship, like an unpaid internship with the UVU internship office. There's a couple guys that'll be writing an article here or there. One of the articles will be about Trey Woodbury and his decision to choose Utah Valley over BYU. That's another story for another day. But what I'm thinking of doing as it goes along is possibly reaching out to the other schools or somehow their internship offices and saying you can post this, and maybe I get a writer or two from each school that can get even more in-depth coverage for their WAC teams to provide content. But right now I'm the only one writing. It's slowly but surely going to keep building up, and as it does, I'll be getting more writers to contribute to the site.
Okay. Now you've made mention several times of different storylines. We'll start with UVU since this is a UVU-centric radio show here. But starting with UVU, what are your favorite storylines coming into the season for the Wolverines?
Well, so the thing that jumps out at me, one of the things, like I said, I mentioned Trey Woodbury. Why did he choose Utah Valley over BYU when Mark Pope is an established head coach, and what he did with Utah Valley prior to taking over at BYU? How did Mark Madsen convince Trey Woodbury to choose Utah Valley over BYU? So that's one. What will Brandon Averett, the Oklahoma State transfer, do after sitting out a year? I mean, it's been almost a year and a half since he's played a basketball game before the exhibition game on Friday. And so, what will he do? Because from everything I've been told from the previous staff to this current staff at Utah Valley, the guy has superstar status written all over him. So that's another storyline. The other storyline is how long will it take for Utah Valley to win a championship so that we can see Mark Madsen do his famous dance? Everybody knows that. If you don't, just Google Mark Madsen championship dance. It'll pull up on YouTube and you'll enjoy. But I mean, the other thing is how will the new group of guys, considering that you only have 2 returning lettermen returning from last year, how will that all come together? And will UVU be able to keep winning games with the new faces? I mean, there's just so many storylines, Brandon, that it's exciting. It really is. And people don't realize that I was on the Cody Feger, Chris Burgess bandwagon when Mark Pope left. I felt like if one of those 2 guys stayed, most of the roster would stay intact so that, they could have the best team yet at UVU this year at Utah Valley. But after sitting down with Coach Madsen, listening to him, talking to him, seeing his thought process, I absolutely think that Jared Sumption, President Tumanez, they got the hire right. I mean, he's going to be the perfect fit here at Utah Valley, and guys are going to want to play for him. And so I'm excited to see what happens in his first year. Hopefully they took the tape from the exhibition game, looked at it once, and then threw it out in the garbage. But, everything starts Tuesday. But I think there's a lot of things going to be in play this year for Utah Valley.
Now, as far as the conference goes, what are some of the intriguing storylines that stick out to you? Probably, let's just say the top 2 storylines that stick out to you for the conference.
Who's going to knock off New Mexico State? I mean, is that going to happen? New Mexico State fans will hate me if they're listening to this, but if Jalen Fisher gets a waiver down there at Grand Canyon, the separation between New Mexico State and Grand Canyon isn't going to be that big. That'll close the gap big time. If not, there'll still be a gap, but I still think Grand Canyon's taking some steps to get closer. So that's the biggest one. Who's going to knock off New Mexico State? The other one, and even though they're not playing, they can't play in the postseason tournament in the WAC Vegas tournament. Cal Baptist and their continued growth. I mean, I love what California Baptist is doing. I mean, they just got a new athletic performance center. Their facility down there, the CBU Event Center, is one of the best in the conference. And if you saw the highlights from their Midnight Madness, I mean, the fan support there is tremendous, and they don't have the big cement brick wall that's kind of holding all their students in. So the students aren't necessarily forced to go to games because they aren't in a bad place in the city of Riverside. So those are two storylines I'm looking at. But, you watch out for Seattle. If they can stay healthy, they're dangerous. UTRGV has one of the best defensive players in Javon Levy. And CSU Bakersfield and UMKC, or I shouldn't say UMKC, excuse me, it's the Kansas City Roos now. It's their last year. Both teams their last year in the WAC. What are they going to do? So there's a lot going on this year that I'm kind of keeping an eye on and looking forward to following.
Well, fantastic stuff as always, Kyle. And again, if you want to follow Kyle, his personal Twitter at Kyle Sports Bias, and then the Twitter account for WAC Hoops Digest, that's at WAC Hoops Digest. And then if you want to shoot Kyle an email, that's kylesportsbias at wachoopsdigest.com. Thanks, Kyle, for taking the time, and we'll see you tomorrow night for that first official game for the Wolverines.
All right, sounds good, Brandon. Thanks for having me again.
You got it. All right, we'll be right back to wrap things up here on the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association on ESPN 960. All right, welcome back to the UVU Coaches Show presented by the UVU Alumni Association. Brandon Crow with you here on ESPN 960. We've had a loaded show, and it's been great to get to know the new faces here at Utah Valley University in the athletic department. And one of those new faces is head coach Dan Nielsen of the UVU women's basketball team. Coach, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Brandon. Appreciate it.
So, Coach, take us back to the earliest time that you can remember being with the basketball.
Oh, wow. It was probably later than most. I grew up in Texas, and so played a lot of baseball, a lot of football. And it wasn't until the end of third grade I started playing, and I loved it and fell in love with it, and couldn't put it down after that.
What position were you in baseball?
Baseball, I played a lot of pitcher and then a lot of first base. I wasn't the fastest guy out there.
Yep, I was a first baseman too. I was always a bigger guy. Couldn't really run that fast, but that was my first passion as well.
Yeah, I can sympathize.
So now I know that it was in your later years in high school when was it like in the summer league when a coach couldn't show up and he called you and you were like a player coach, and that's really where you started to think, hey, this coaching thing might actually be a good thing for me.
Yeah, it was actually, I had been helping the women's team at BYU as a practice player, and my brother was doing some summer league stuff back at home, and I was home, and their coach couldn't show up to practice, and so I went and ran practice and loved it, just enjoyed it, and obviously having been around the women's program at BYU with Coach Judkins, just kind of had the bug for it and didn't really think too seriously about it. And then as I got closer to graduation, Coach Judkins approached me and said, I think you have a future in this, and kind of hired me on as his film guy. And I guess, as they say, the rest is history. So.
Can you give us your best Coach Judkins impression?
Oh, gosh. It's probably better in person, but he always has when he's done with a thought, but he doesn't know what to add to it, he always goes, "It's what it is. It's what it is, guys. It's what it is." He just says it over and over, and we all just sit there and laugh. And he's like, "What?" But that's one of them. He's been doing it for so long. I'm sure there's quite a few, but definitely very grateful to him. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be in this business. So I owe a lot to him and appreciate everything he's done for me.
So when the news came where there was an opening for this position at Utah Valley, what was the advice that Coach Judkins gave you?
There's been a lot of jobs come open that I've previous to this that I've been contacted about, and every time we'd sit down and talk about it and kind of go through the pros and cons. And this was one, I'd always expressed interest into him, and he believes also in the potential of Utah Valley and the women's basketball program. And the second it came open, he just, he's like, "Dan, you got to go for it." He's like, "I don't want you to leave, but you'd be stupid to not go for this and try and get it." And so, he was nothing but supportive of it. And luckily he kind of had the same ideas that I had, made me a lot more comfortable going all in the job.
And what does that mean to you to know that a mentor like that is encouraging and looking for opportunities for you to improve?
Oh, it means a ton to have somebody. I've known Coach Judkins since I was 18, so I've known him for over half my life, and he's always been that way for me, and just an honest, direct, like you said, mentor who's always looked out for me and probably given me opportunities maybe I wasn't quite qualified for, but at the time, but let me grow into those positions, and just really lucky, and hopefully as I get older, I can give those same opportunities to some other people and continue to grow the game and encourage my players now to hopefully get into coaching as well.
Now, you have stated that one of the biggest things you want people to know about UVU basketball is to come be a part of it. If you're a recruit, this is the place where you can do big things. And what do you mean by that?
Right. I think it's just, for so long, and this is just my perception, people might disagree. I just feel like UVU women's basketball has been this diamond in the rough that's been there right in the heart of this community. Utah Valley's growing, and there's so much talent in Utah Valley, in the state of Utah, and the region. And I just feel like it's been overlooked. And so we're just inviting any and everybody. We have open practices. We've let junior college coaches, high school coaches, anybody that wants to come on an unofficial visit and come check things out and get to know us, even if we're not recruiting them. We want people to be exposed to it because we've had, and it's paid off. We've had great feedback so far from parents and coaches saying, hey, we've heard nothing but great things after coming to your practice or talking to these recruiting about your staff. And, we just try and be really open with who we are and give people the chance to build those relationships. And it goes beyond recruiting. It's also in the community. We want more people at the games. We want people to take the time, come watch, and get to know us. And it's a great family environment. It's very different than a men's game. It's a great chance to bring your kids and get to know our girls after the game. So that's kind of what I mean by come be a part of it is we want people to come and know us, not just see us on the court, but stay after and talk to us, come to our camps, really recognize that we're a part of the community and we're not just these coaches out on the floor.
You mentioned your staff. Who, for those that might not know, give us a little bit background of who you brought in to help you along this journey.
Yeah, and that was a really important thing for me when I got the job was I wanted people, the biggest thing was that I trusted and that knew me and could work with me and help, encourage the vision that I had. And so I was really lucky. I was able to bring Ashley Garfield with me from BYU. She'd been an assistant there with me at BYU for a few years and played at BYU. So I coached her. So she knows me really well, has great experience, coaching in the NCAA tournament. And then I also brought Morgan Bailey, who played a little bit ago also at BYU, was the league MVP there, played professionally, has a lot of experience in that way, and then coached both at Snow and most recently at SUU, and was able to convince her to come back up to Orem, actually where she's from. And then last one was Kehlani Unga, who's been she also was a player for me at BYU, and she's been helping out with a couple of high schools in the Valley, while her husband, Harvey, is actually coaching football over at BYU. And when the position came open, Harvey really encouraged her to go for it. And honestly, it's been just a great fit. Just we all have different strengths and can build up each other's weaknesses. And it's been a really seamless transition because we all kind of speak that same basketball language. We all know each other, trust each other, and we've been on the same page since day one.
Now, I have been able to pop my head in trying to meet up with various people in the practice facilities, and I've seen Coach Madsen lace it up and get out there with his team. Do you lace it up, and are you out there with your assistants and mixing it up with the girls on the squad?
If this was a couple of years ago, I probably still would have been, but I've gotten to the point where I haven't played much in the last few years, and I'll be honest with you, my 3 assistants are better than me right now anyway, so I'm better off just subbing them and letting the girls on the team think I can still play rather than I'm a step or 5 slow. So.
Now, another thing that I have noticed as I walk by, there's only been 2 things that I've seen on your TV in your office, and that is game film and the show The Office. Can you confirm this?
That is 100% true. I'm somebody, I like to work hard and play hard, and this business can kind of eat people alive if you don't take a break and relax and take time to laugh a little bit. And watch a lot of game film. In the mornings, if you come by early, I usually got Dan Patrick on.
That's my guy.
Then I usually get to game film and either at lunchtime or after practice. If I need a minute to decompress, I'll throw on The Office, and my whole staff loves it, so we're always quoting The Office. So our poor managers are always up there and having to listen to us quote it. Hopefully they like it too, because if not, it probably has gotten old. But they can deal with it. So.
All right, your favorite episode.
Oh gosh, there's just so many. I mean, early on the basketball episode is hilarious with Stanley and Michael shooting all the shots. There's just so many. There's so many quotable lines. I mean, Dwight and Jim, anytime they're pranking each other. I mean, we could go on and on. It would probably make Jared Sumption nervous if I could quote them all. He'd probably wonder what I'm doing in my office. So we'll stop at that. So.
All right, we'll let you go with this. What can fans and people in the community expect from this UVU basketball team?
I think the biggest thing is that we're here to win when it comes to specifically on the basketball court. And obviously every coach is going to say that. But, this team has had a lot of ups and downs the last few years, both with success on the court and with transfers. And we're trying to build some real continuity with the team and consistency and an understanding that, we have a different level of accountability where we're working to win everything and big goals, and people outside of it might say, boy, that's crazy, or you're jumping ahead of yourself. But no, we want to win the WAC. We want to win, just start to win 20 games regularly. And, fans should expect really competitive, high-level basketball. And I could say the cliche thing like most coaches and say, hey, we're going to play fast, we're going to run up and down. But no, we're going to play smart basketball. We're going to look at where the mismatches are. We're going to play good man-to-man defense and mix in some zone. And then off the court, just continue to have really good kids that we're proud to have out in the community representing us, that do well in school. They represent themselves well. And, as we start to recruit, a big focus has been on more Utah kids that have, in recent years, they've been leaving the state to go to Big West, Big Sky schools. And I think UVU should be getting those kids. So hopefully we can start to get some more local support if we get a few more local kids. And I think we'll be a program the community can be proud of, and we'll enjoy coming to watch our games.
Excellent. Well, again, Coach, thank you for taking the time to be with us. Best of luck as you start off the season this week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it.
All right, this has been an interview with Dan Nielsen on the UVU Coaches Show. We'll be right back to wrap things up right here on ESPN 960.